Promptly came out that Tim Walz was a radical leftist. The man who was supposed to win over Midwestern working class men for Kamala had mandated tampons in the boys' bathrooms and made his state a sanctuary for underage kids claiming to be another gender who wanted to castrate and sterilize themselves. A story so extreme that many did not believe it, but you must clarify, as your campaign had tried to do, and now you appear to be distancing yourself from that clarification.
What do you get when Minnesota's mild-mannered political dad suddenly turns into a pressure cooker with no release valve? That's exactly what happened when Tim Walz lost his cool after Megyn Kelly unearthed a little skeleton he'd clearly hoped was buried under layers of Orshuk's charm. Imagine a man trying to keep smiling while his political image slips on a banana peel. Stick around. This meltdown is one for the political blooper reel.
It's not the way the law is written. Look, I've given
But
this,
how?
I've given this advice on a lot of things, that getting involved, getting engaged, that's been misread, and it was fact-checked at the last.
Before we go further, tap that like button and hit subscribe, because trust me, this is a train wreck you'll want front row seats to. Watching Tim Walz snap is like seeing a school principal finally realize the students never took him seriously. For years, he's played the role of Minnesota's grill dad, insisting he's in control, while charring every policy burger he flips. The minute someone sharper calls him out, the whole charade falls apart faster than a cheap patio umbrella in a windstorm.
From 2015 to 2023, which was the date Tim Walz repealed the law requiring life-saving care, 24 babies were born alive in Minnesota after an attempted abortion. Think of how horrific that is.
Let's not forget, this is the same Tim Walz who's carefully built a reputation as the grounded, relatable leader. But let's be honest, he's always given off big-time substitute teacher energy. The kind who insists, just call me Tim, while the students quietly turn him into a meme. Megyn Kelly didn't just ask tough questions. She kicked open the front door of his image, turned on the lights, and let everyone see the chaos. And Walz, he didn't just get mad, he exploded like a sparkler stand set on fire by accident.
Get to Tim Walz, who, just when you think no one's sitting at this table, neither she nor the big white blanket, can embarrass themselves any further, he does. She asks him, to her credit, about the carrying the weapons in war, which we know is a lie. He never served in war. He's been stealing valor for quite some time. And take a listen to this answer.
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country.
It's wild, really. Walz built his entire persona on being the Midwestern nice guy, but that golly gee smile vanishes fast when things get real. One tough moment, and suddenly we're watching sweaty palms, finger-pointing, and a meltdown more dramatic than a teenager caught raiding the liquor cabinet. If irony had a face, it would be Tim Walz during that implosion, flushed, flustered, and falling apart live on camera.
Tim Walz. Okay, Jen Psaki, she's a talking head, whatever. But Tim Walz was recently the vice presidential candidate on the Democratic ticket. Maybe you'd expect a little better, a little higher in terms of the rhetoric. You would be disappointed. Here is SOT 27.
Get up in the morning and you doom scroll through things, and although I will say this, the last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. There will be news sometime, just so you know, there will be news.
Look at him. So chipper. Don't worry, there will be news.
But here's the twist. This behavior isn't some shocking new development. Walz has a pattern. Puff up, then pop. Remember his days in Congress. He sold himself as the guy who builds bridges, yet his voting record flipped so often you'd think he was chasing tornadoes. He's the kind of politician who morphs with the moment, and when someone points out the shape-shifting, he acts like he's been personally insulted. Like we're supposed to applaud his inconsistency as some kind of interpretive art.
Here's the capper. He's as radical as we can get on the trans and children issue. He is Gavin Newsom with white hair. He signed an executive order that says the state can take your child away from you if you don't, quote, affirm their gender identity, and make sure they can get access to puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries, chopping off their healthy body parts. That's as radical as we have anywhere in the world.
Minnesota voters have seen this movie before. Walz loves to stand behind podiums, channeling confidence like a local theater actor on opening night. But challenge him. The scene flips. He's suddenly blaming everyone but himself, like a kid who forgot his homework and blames a wild raccoon. Megyn Kelly didn't invent his issues, she just pointed to them. And boom, Walz's calm leader mask evaporated faster than fog on a sunny morning. His tantrum wasn't scandalous, it was awkward. Cringe. Telling.
Were disgusting, but J.D. Vance was a vision. And Tim Walz really did indeed look like the bumbling knucklehead he said he was.
Here's the real story. Walz has spent years playing the corn-fed, dad-joke politician. He figured if he kept saying golly and you betcha, we'd ignore the fact that his policies often don't add up. But when someone refuses to play along, that polished persona crumbles. Suddenly, he's not the friendly neighbor, he's the guy screaming about a crooked mailbox. The truth. Walz doesn't handle criticism. He handles photo ops, ribbon cuttings, and softball interviews. Real scrutiny. That's when the whole domino setup comes crashing down.
Of the left's celebration of violence, here's another soundbite. This one is still Tim Walz, but it's on Gavin Newsom's podcast Tuesday.
You got to respect people you disagree with, and you can't just dismiss people. This
How do you fight it?
This
I
notion
think
of
I could kick most of their ass. I do think that if they want to do it. I know I can go wrong, but I don't know if we're going to fall into that place where we want to. Okay, we challenge you to a WWE fight here type of.
This blow-up didn't just reveal a flaw, it confirmed what critics have whispered for years. Walz's public image is theatre. Strip away the plaid shirts and practiced humility, and you've got a man who panics when control slips. The illusion of strength vanished, replaced by the reality, a politician unready for heat. And the irony. Walz thought anger made him look powerful. But it only made him look small. Real strength isn't yelling over critics, it's responding with grace. Walz doesn't do grace. He does meltdown.
It's everything we need to know. First of all, Minnesota schools have dropped from 7th in the nation to 19th under his gubernatorial reign. He wants driver's licenses for all illegals. He wants free tuition for all illegals. He wants free healthcare, has provided, not just wants, has provided free healthcare for all illegals. And as I said in the intro, free is not free. He wants to make Minnesota a sanctuary.
Let's put this in context. Walz's dark secret isn't one smoking gun scandal, it's a recurring pattern. He panics when challenged, hides behind charm, and buckles under pressure. This outburst, just the most obvious example. He's built a political resume full of flip-flops, odd decisions, and half-answers. But when called on it, he doesn't reflect, he lashes out. It's like watching a magician run out of tricks and frantically wave his hands while the audience notices the rabbits missing. This eruption, it's the season finale of a show quietly falling apart.
The ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog.
I'm in the classroom. My record speaks for itself. It doesn't actually. You've put a lot of lies into that record that you've been called out on by.
Let's be real. Walz has never been the loud type. He's played the role of the calm, sensible grown-up in the room. But what happens when that adult throws a fit like a teenager denied the keys to the car? The whole myth falls apart. Megyn Kelly didn't just uncover a skeleton, she ripped the curtain down and revealed a frantic man juggling an act he can't keep up. Walz's secret isn't scandal, it's instability. One hard question, and his entire persona crumbled like a sandcastle in a downpour.
You don't think that's racism and misogyny?
There's everything in there, right? Like, I'm going to kick their ass. Okay, sure, Jan. These are bad guys, the online influencers. He's clearly talking about, sort of the manosphere that helped get Trump elected. They're bad. And then how do we kick them back under a rock? The leftist instinct to silence, always there when it's not their POV. And then just the cherry on top, it's all there.
His time as governor hasn't been much different. Walz pitched himself as the rock-steady hand during turbulent times. But his idea of steady looks more like someone nervously balancing soup on a tightrope. On COVID, he flip-flopped like it was a talent show. On public safety, he managed to alienate both sides of the aisle. Each time critics raised concerns, he struck the same pose, chest out, smile on, denial in full force. But when the cracks widened into chasms, Walz didn't adapt. He shouted at the people pointing at the broken foundation. It's a cycle: mistake, denial, deflection, meltdown.
They did not even run. The soundbite where Tim Walz calls himself a knucklehead after he clearly gets caught in and confronted with a lie he told about being in China for the Tiananmen Square.
Let's not kid ourselves. Walz's image was never built to survive real pressure. His dark secret isn't just that he explodes, it's that his whole identity is too fragile to handle the truth. That Midwestern charm only works until someone calls his bluff. Then it's all sweaty denial and red-faced rage. The idea that he represents calm leadership becomes laughable. Because real leaders face accountability. Walz treats it like an allergic reaction. This wasn't just a tantrum, it was a warning sign. A leader doesn't burn his own credibility the moment things get uncomfortable.
You could just sense the power in the hall, and it was the power of joy. And these two people yesterday managed to put a smile on the nation's face.
He is a basic, boring white man, right? That's what they've been saying all along. The idea that somehow that side, right, the boring white guys for Kamala side, is not the racially divisive party, I think is preposterous, right? I think it's pretty naif.
Take a step back. Sure, political meltdowns happen all the time. But Walz's implosion hits differently, because he's spent his whole career pretending to be above that. The reasonable adult act. Gone. Replaced by a guy sputtering and turning shades of crimson while everyone else looks away in awkward silence. And here's the reality, moments like this stick. Just ask Howard Dean, one awkward scream can end a whole campaign. Walz needed to project control. Instead, he broadcasted chaos. Like bragging about punctuality, then showing up an hour late.
From the heartland goes to Yale. That's so dishonest. If you read his memoir or know anything about the guy, it's a miracle he wound up at Yale. He was a child of abuse. No dad, drug-addled mom, man after man in the house, including very abusive domestic violence things he witnessed and was.
This outburst also peeled back the layer on his media game. Walz thrives when the press nods along to his rehearsed lines. But throw him a curveball, like Megyn Kelly did. He flails. It's like he forgot that politics is supposed to be hard. If you can't handle sharp questions, how are you managing a crisis? Spoiler, you're not. In the end, Walz's dark secret isn't a skeleton in the closet, it's fragility. He's a man pretending to be unshakable, while barely keeping it together. And now, the show's over. The audience is laughing. And his opponents are writing the sequel.
There was Oliver Wendell Holmes, and actually you can, I don't believe you're a lawyer, Governor Walz. You can yell fire in a crowded theater and you can say hateful things because this is the United States of America. And it's right there in Amendment number 1. It's one of our favorites, was one of the founders' favorites, and was one of the founding principles upon which this country was built. There's no exception for speech. Tim Walz or Kamala Harris magically